Hi, I'm John Mallis. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Thursday morning. You may want to call in today. We have one of the attorneys in the house on the set talking about the Dylan Noble case. He is filing a lawsuit against the city of Fresno. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Call in. We have an open phone line. Today's sponsor is Charles Chuck McGill. He's an attorney at law, more than 25 years here in Fresno. Back here on the program on a Thursday morning, showroom floor at Ventura TV. And of course, we have another program tomorrow, so I might as well get the programming notes out of the way now. Tomorrow, we're going to have some fun. We're going to kind of lighten up the topic and talk to Ronnie Paul, Flying Home with Ronnie Paul. You know the Paw Paw Theater over at the Fresno Fairgrounds? Well, he comes from that family. We'll talk to him a little bit about that. And he has a show on Comcast every Saturday night. I don't know how he's done it. He's missed like 3 shows in 11 years on Saturday nights from like 7 o'clock at night until 1 in the morning. He runs all those old programs that we do here, like I Love Lucy, Gunsmoke, all these various clips from all these old shows back in the 50s and the 60s. Those are my days, my friends, the old days. Anyway, Ronnie will be here to talk also about the Oakland Raiders, who play a game tonight, a key game in the AFC West. The Raiders are 10-2. They travel to Kansas City. We'll see what the weather is like there. Derek Carr, unbelievable. 6 consecutive come-from-behind victories in the fourth quarter. Man, if you're not a Derek Carr fan, you don't even have to be a football fan. How can you not like Derek Carr? The guy is just walks on water right now as far as the Raiders are concerned, and their coach is just as good. So we'll have fun with Ronnie Paul talking about that and Fresno State tomorrow. And then on Monday, our good friend Dennis Hart will be here to whoop it up. I don't know if he's going to whoop it up because we're going to talk about Donald Trump and all the ongoing appointments in his cabinet. Okay, you're watching us live on Comcast Channel 375 as usual, Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning. That's Xfinity Comcast Cable. But if you can't watch us live right now, you can catch the replay at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at 13.6 YouTube, 4.6 Biz TV. But you have to have a digital antenna for this. And to watch us on 13.1 and 43.6 right now live, you also have to have that digital antenna. And you have to have the internet if you want to catch our show on YouTube after this is all over, and that's up there for eternity. Okay, time to talk about the Dylan Noble case again. Here we go again. It's a case that really, it puts knots in my stomach, and we've talked about it on this program for so many days since June the 25th. That's when Dylan Noble, the 19-year-old kid from Fresno, was shot to death by police. June 25th is when it happened. I want to roll the body cam footage here from the Fresno Police Department. Actually borrowed this video from the Fresno Bee. So here it is. This was the scene inside the patrol car. One of the officers had already pulled his gun even before the slow pursuit had stopped. This shooting captured national attention after a rash of police shootings across the country involving police and young black men. Although Noble was not black, it caused an outrage not only here in the Central Valley, but around the nation, because police later determined that they had shot and killed a young man who was unarmed, and they shot him while he was on the ground. The original report that came into dispatchers, a young man had been seen carrying a rifle in southeast Fresno. When authorities arrived on the scene, they pursued Noble's truck at a slow speed, and it all came to an end near Shields and Armstrong, where Noble was shot several times by police. Fresno Police Chief Jerry Dyer was pressured to release the body cam video for days on end. Finally did on July 13th. The body cameras worn by 2 officers who shot Noble. The footage shows Noble refusing repeated police commands, according to them, as you can see, to keep his hands up. Noble then got out of his truck despite orders to stay put. Instead, he began pacing. Noble then walks toward the police, yells at him or them about something about his life. And that's when one of the officers fired 2 shots into Noble. He collapsed. He was lying on the ground. The officers asked for a show of hands at that point, then pumped 2 more rounds into him while he was on the ground. One of those was a shotgun blast at close range. That's the unbelievable part. The officers in this case are Raymond Camacho, a 20-year veteran, and Robert Chavez, a 17-year veteran. Chavez is the one who fired the fatal shotgun blast into Noble. 2 lawsuits have been filed, one by Noble's father, the other by Noble's mother. We're not going to show the entire video here, but this is the pursuit near Shields and Armstrong. They pull into the Chevron station here, and as you'll see, Dylan Noble gets out of the truck, but I think this is where we want to stop it. We don't want to go any further. Live in our studio right now is Stuart Chandler, a well-respected local attorney for many years here. He is representing the mother of Dylan Noble. He is here to take your phone calls, and during the course of the program, we will show you some animation footage of what police should have done in this Dylan Noble case, according to Stuart Chandler. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Excuse a little raspy voice here, a little allergy situation going on. It's rainy outside, but we have Stuart Chandler in the house talking about Dylan Noble. In fact, Carrie, take that other shot with this camera. You can see the picture of Dylan Noble up here in our studio right here. Take the wide shot so you can see both Stuart and I. That's the shot of Dylan, but that is the photo that sits behind us right here. We're going to be back with more of our program here on Connect with Me. Charles Chuck McGill is our sponsor today.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
Have you or a loved one recently been arrested for a serious crime?
Is your professional reputation at risk?
Aggressive representation from a qualified defense attorney can help you avoid conviction and keep your reputation untarnished.
Hi, I'm Charles McGill, and I'll fight for your rights. With extensive experience in successfully defending against a wide range of criminal offenses and high-profile cases, you can rest assured that you'll get the fair trial you deserve from McGill, Guzman McGill. Call us at 559-255-3425 or visit us online at toplawyersfresno.com.
Back here on the program, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Usually this is a topic that sparks a lot of controversy and sparks a lot of phone calls coming in. We have an open phone line right now, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Kind of a rare chance here to question the man who is filing a lawsuit against the city of Fresno. He's representing the mother of Dylan Noble. Stuart Chandler, good to meet you for the first time.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
John, thanks for having me on.
Our condolences to the family.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I know they do too.
Yeah, and how's the family holding up? I mean, I hate to even ask that question because I know it's kind of a dumb question, but our concern is with the family, of course.
I appreciate that. And as you know, I represent his mom, and his mom and stepdad have certainly been going through a really, really difficult time. We keep in touch regularly, and now through the holidays, as you know, it's kind of difficult more than ever. I'm kind of amazed. I've had the opportunity to represent families who've lost a family member to tragedy many times over the 37 years I've been in practice. And I've got to say that these folks are incredibly resilient in the sense of having a knowledge that they need to do something more than just sit in their grief and sorrow over what happened with the loss of their son. That they're looking at it, that they want to be a voice for change. And for somebody to step up and do that, I think is really amazing. So I've got a lot of respect for my client.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this thing, I want to ask you, I know you don't have a crystal ball and you're not a mind reader, but I just often wonder when I think about this case, even if you're a police officer, how anybody, and I don't want to, I've never met these 2 police officers that are involved in this shooting, but how can any human being, while somebody is lying on the ground defenseless, finish him off with a shotgun blast? Have you thought about that, laying awake at night, not being able to sleep, and just thought, my God, is that what we've come to, our society, and I'm not judge and jury, but just from the facts that I've read, and I wasn't there, and I probably shouldn't be talking this way, but from what I've read, he was defenseless on the ground, and it sounds like he was just blown away just to finish him off. Do you believe that was the case?
Well, that's a very tough question.
I know. Even Jerry Dyer has questioned that.
Yeah. Your question's a tough one to try to get in the minds of the officers who were firing the shots that day.
Yeah.
So for me to say, well, I think they were thinking this, or I think they were thinking that.
You're not a mind reader.
I can't
but I
do
mean,
that.
Have you just stayed awake at night thinking about how could anybody do this?
Yeah, I do. It really goes beyond.
Hang on, caller.
It goes beyond what we can imagine that would something that we would do. And that's part of what's part of this lawsuit and some other lawsuits that have been brought against the city, is pointing out that this isn't the first time this has happened. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at what seems to be almost a culture or an environment where going to lethal force prematurely is something that is allowed to happen again and again and again. And
is that what it amounts to? Prematurely just using lethal force?
I really look at it that way. Doing some research as to other cases that have been brought against the Fresno Police Department on similar situations.
Yeah.
And we just read of the settlement recently in the one involving Mr. Reyes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of similarities between what happened to Dylan Noble and what happened to that young man. And so to think that it continues to happen is really disturbing. Mm-hmm. So more than just trying to put myself in the minds of the officers there at the time, we really need to look at what's the sort of training that these folks have had, what's the environment that they're operating under, and what can we do to prevent these sorts of tragedies from happening again.
Yeah, you mentioned Reyes. It's Jaime Reyes Jr., 28 years old, shot to death by police while climbing the fence at Ainsworth Elementary School in southeast Fresno on the afternoon of June 6th, 2012. They settled that $2.2 million. The article right here pulled it from the Fresno Bee. Caller, you've been patient. Thank you for calling in. What's your question to Stuart Chandler? Got to turn your TV set down, caller. Hello? Caller? You got to turn your TV set down.
What was that?
Turn your TV set down, please. Hello?
Yes. Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Can you please turn down your set?
Okay, I did.
Okay. Go ahead. What's your question? You're on the air.
Yes. Am I reading this all correctly and knowing that he had no criminal history?
Okay, you'll have to turn that down. She's overmodulated. Go ahead. Go ahead again, ma'am.
Yes. Do I know correctly that Dylan Noble had no criminal history?
That's correct.
At all? He had never been arrested, nothing.
I believe that the question that maybe didn't come across well is if Dylan had a criminal history. My understanding, and we don't have all the records yet, is there was something about in his youth, there was an incident where he was pulled over for a traffic violation of some sort and had a blood alcohol of a 0.01, which of course is not intoxicated. But because he's a minor, any infraction, any alcohol in the blood system is considered illegal. So that's my understanding of that there was a citation for that, which resulted in him not having a license for a while, but he went through all the programs, did everything that anybody would have to do, and had his license back and everything was going fine. But clearly a different situation.
Criminal. I mean, a criminal. That's not a criminal.
No. Yeah, nothing criminal. I understand that some of the other officer-involved shootings have been folks that are gang members and things like that.
Right.
So
That's what I'm referring to. There was nothing like that.
absolutely correct. Nothing at all.
No red flags for them officers to think that he was a criminal, a gang member, or...
No. There was, and in fact, when they pulled up behind him at the stoplight and ran the license plate, if that license plate, and they found that it was registered to him. And in doing that connection with the dispatcher, if there had been a criminal record, that would have been brought up, and the officers then would have known.
Immediately, it would have been brought up.
They would have known that the person they're pulling over has a criminal history of some kind that would cause them to be concerned. And since he didn't, that didn't come up, so they had no justification for being as aggressive as they were.
All right, let me ask you, because this will probably come up in trial if it ever goes to trial. I know the lawsuit has already been filed, but Fresno Bee reported that the toxicology report showed that Noble's body had a blood alcohol content of 0.12, 1.5 times the legal limit of 0.8, and a small trace of cocaine. If it goes to trial, will that have any bearing at all on this case?
A couple of things. No, it won't.
Okay.
And let me clarify something. The small trace of a chemical that was found in the bloodstream is something that they say could be a derivative or a byproduct of cocaine. It's
Right.
not cocaine itself.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
I'm not going to try to pronounce that either, because it is a small trace amount of that that is a main component or compound that forms, cocaine. But why won't it have a bearing or an impact on a trial if it goes that far?
Okay, couple of things. First of all, we don't know that that's what it was. But secondly, the trace amount means that it's so negligible that it wouldn't have any impact at all on the way that he would think or act or behave. So there's no indication, and chemically he could not have been under the influence of cocaine. So that can't possibly be the sort of thing that would be relevant or admissible in a
So if you
trial.
have
It has no bearing.
traces, that doesn't mean you're under the influence.
That's correct.
Okay.
Actually, it means he wasn't under the influence because there
All right.
wasn't enough of the substance in his bloodstream.
Yeah.
Then
So
you
that's
have,
how it would play out in trial.
absolutely, that wouldn't even come into evidence.
And the reason I'm asking is because I'm not an attorney.
Yeah.
I have no idea how
Sure.
all this is going to play out.
Right.
And the 0.12 alcohol blood content, how would you play that in court?
Well, first of all, I don't think that that's relevant or admissible. I don't think that it should come out as some sort of relevant evidence. To the extent that it does, if anything, I think it demonstrates that the officers need to be trained properly and respond properly to what happens if they pull over somebody who's intoxicated and doesn't respond to their demands or commands the way that they expect them to. You know, you pull over somebody who is, particularly if they've got a higher blood alcohol content than that,
Yeah.
they might respond in a way that's uncooperative, and they're giving commands, and the person pulled over doesn't respond the way they want them to. They have to be trained and have an understanding that there's an impairment going on here.
Are they not
Whether
trained now?
Well, we know that there's training that goes on, but to the extent that the conduct of these officers so far has been justified by the Fresno Police Department tells me whatever they're being trained is wrong. Because if we're being told that what they did was proper and correct and according to Fresno Police protocol, there's something wrong with the system. It's broken. It needs to be fixed.
Before we go to break, I want to take the shot here of Dylan Noble. Can you tell us briefly what kind of a man he was? He was 19 years old. There have been reports all over the Fresno Bee that he was distraught about his life. He was upset with his personal life, his family situation. He had a low-paying job, according to some of the articles that I've read. Why don't you tell us in your own words, as we look at the photo there of Dylan Noble, a very handsome young guy. It looked like he had his whole future ahead of him. Tell us about him.
Sure. And first, just to respond real quickly to a couple of those.
Hang on, caller.
Couple of those things. Some of the criticisms or the mud that's been slung, I think, through leaks by the Fresno City Police have to do with things that were posted years before on Facebook and social media. But at the time that he was killed, he was a very upbeat, going places young man. You know, at 19 years old, he'd graduated from high school. He'd done well. He had a good grade point average. He had a girlfriend. He was looking forward, actually, to going into a career that would likely involve counseling and help for troubled youth. That's something that he really wanted to do. He did go through a phase of life a little earlier in his teens where he had some troubles and challenges and changed his school situation, but came back to the point he graduated in his high school class really well, was extraordinarily popular and well liked. So everything I hear about Dylan at the time that he was killed is that he was just a really wonderful, positive young man that was going places and was going to be a great asset to this community.
Hang on, caller. Of course, the Fresno police, you mentioned it just now, just a moment ago, about them going through the Facebook page. Fresno Police Homicide Detective Luis Carrillo, Carrillo, obtained a search warrant to Noble's Facebook account, found recent photos of Noble holding a rifle posted there, and this is where they found some of those distraught comments at the time. How old were these Facebook postings?
Well, they went back several years, and this was all part of information they put before a judge as part of a search warrant to try to get more information from Dylan's social media accounts. But a lot of the things that were posted and became public were several years before. I don't know when the picture was taken with him with a rifle, but, let's talk, our rights to have a gun, and he's had a jacked up pickup truck that he loved. He was an outdoors kid,
Well,
I think it's great.
Just because somebody has a photo of a rifle doesn't mean that in this particular situation that, I don't know what the circumstances were, but when someone's lying on the ground and they're shot, when they're defenseless, what has that got to do with a photo of Dylan Noble holding a rifle years ago?
Absolutely nothing. To me, it's just all part of a media campaign by the Fresno City Police to try to taint what may be a prospective jury pool, to suggest that maybe this is some sort of a scary guy or a threat. But of course, we know that they did not have access to or look at any Facebook things in those few minutes that they were following him and then pointing guns at him and ultimately killing him. So looking through what his past may have been in terms of postings or information out there has got nothing whatsoever to do with their misconduct in killing him.
I've done some stupid things in my life. We all have a past to a certain extent. Every one of us has no bearing on what I'm doing now.
Correct.
And my vision toward the future has nothing to do with what I've done in the past. We were all young and stupid at one time, were we not?
Yes.
I think.
If you're asking me to make confessions of things I've done in the past, But yeah, we've
all made mistakes. But when you talk about Facebook postings that are years old, Dylan Noble was only 19, so they must have went back when he was like 14, 15, 16 years old.
That's right.
To look at Facebook postings that far back.
Right. And that's what they did. And a lot of that got out, so it went out in the media about some things that had been years before, of some emotional distress and such.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Go ahead.
No, I want you to finish. Go ahead.
But it gets to this. Even if you say, well, at the time that this happened, he was disturbed or something like that, what's that got to do with what the Fresno police did? Absolutely nothing. This has to be judged by the information they had, what they saw, what they perceived at the time, and there was no threat. But their conduct in killing him has to be judged on the information that they had at that time. Anything Dylan may have posted on Facebook before, I don't even care if it was that morning, has no bearing at all on this case. None.
Just to clarify for our viewers and our potential jury pool out there, if it ever gets to trial, just to make clear, Dylan Noble at the time of the shooting was not distraught, was not unhappy with his life. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Well, I want you to say it because I'm not the attorney.
No, he wasn't. I've talked to a lot of family and friends, and this was just a really great outdoors kid. He loved to ride his dirt bike. That's what he was going to be doing later that day. He had
so he wasn't distraught.
No, he was just
happy with his life.
Very much so.
Okay. Yeah. Caller, go ahead. You're on with the one and only Stuart Chandler here representing the mother of Dylan Noble. Go ahead.
Stuart, let me ask a direct question. I know they carried body cams. Now, how long was it before or requested by the parents if they can see what happened? I'm sure that the chief was looking at the evidence before the family members or lawyers. Is there a restriction as far as how long does it take to see it? Because, let somebody see it. I mean, not just nod it or whatever, because anything could be edited, number one, okay? And that's a fact. And before anybody gets to the main chief, Jerry and whatever, and get that information. I'm not saying he's doing it or whatever, but any smart person can say, well, we got to get this information and get the reports from the officers, whatever. Okay, it's a tragic, number one, and I hope you can do something to justify, what happened. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. And he's not here no more. He can't defend himself. But those parents have every right to sue the city for what happened to their son. That's all I want to say.
All right, okay. Thank you for that. You'd like me to respond? Sure. And thank you for the call, and I appreciate your support. As far as the body cam's concerned, that was released to us to look at a few days after the video came out from somebody who was there at the gas station where the stop and the killing occurred. And so when that particular citizen witness video went viral, after that, the city police felt that by releasing body cam video to the public, they might help justify the killing. Frankly, I don't think it does. I think it just reinforces everything I'm saying. So it was a few days after the witness video came out that the family was invited to view portions of the body cam video. We still haven't seen all of it. I've requested.
Oh, you mean the video that we have is not the entire footage?
No.
It isn't.
No. It starts with the body cam from when they respond to somebody who'd called in about somebody walking around with a rifle or a shotgun. And it goes forward until the shooting, and then it stops. And so I only have, John, what you have, even though I've requested from day one that the city provide all of the body cam video. And that request is still out there. And we've been told that we can't have it because the case is still subject to criminal investigation. And frankly, I think that's wrong. So we'll be pursuing that in court in the very near future. But for now, I have what you have, and it's the incomplete version.
And we're going to roll that again, and I'm going to have you narrate over it and describe in your own words what we're seeing, because you as an attorney, you're very smart. You've gone over cases like this probably 1,001 times, maybe 1,000,001 times, so you see it differently than we do, and how this will play out possibly in a courtroom. 436 MeTV option 11. Stuart Chandler is here. He's a well-respected attorney here in the city of Fresno for many years, representing the mother of Dylan Noble. You can call in. We have an open line. Charles Chuck McGill, the well-respected attorney here in Fresno, has been around 25 years, and he's our sponsor today. Back in a moment.
The Justice Network is here. If you haven't tuned in, you're missing a great lineup of gripping stories of real crime, plus an unprecedented effort by viewers like you to play an active role in making your community safer. You can help support law enforcement by providing information that may lead to the apprehension of dangerous criminals or find a missing child. Great shows and your chance to fight crime, only on the Justice Network.
Have you or a loved one recently been arrested for a serious crime?
Is your professional reputation at risk?
Aggressive representation from a qualified defense attorney can help you avoid conviction and keep your reputation untarnished.
Hi, I'm Charles McGill, and I'll fight for your rights. With extensive experience in successfully defending against a wide range of criminal offenses and high-profile cases, you can rest assured that you'll get the fair trial you deserve from McGill, Guzman McGill. Call us at 559-255-3425 or visit us online at toplawyersfresno.com.
All right, you're looking at a photo of Dylan Noble, 19 years old, shot to death by Fresno police on June the 25th in southeast Fresno near Shields and Armstrong, as this case has created quite a controversy, not only here in the Central Valley, but across California, across the country. A rash of police shootings had taken place across the country involving police and young black men. Is that relevant in this case, do you think? Stuart Chandler is our guest, an attorney representing the mother.
No, it really has no correlation to what happened here. We're looking at what happens in the city of Fresno with our policing and the mistakes that were made here that we don't want to see happen again.
Right. Ma'am, you're on the phone. You're on the line with Stuart Chandler. Go ahead. What's your question, please?
Does on TV we see it all split screen from the body cameras? And why does Jerry Dyer narrate it? Why can't we hear it for ourselves and see just on one screen the whole thing? What was his purpose on that?
I don't. The question was about why the split screens on the television when Chief Dyer narrated it. I wasn't there at the press conference, so I really couldn't answer that question specifically. My suspicion is they were trying to blow up the image as large as possible. So I don't want to say there was something nefarious by using split screens to try to block something. I really think that the objective was to try to make the image as large as possible for a press conference, and in doing that, they've got a television type setup that's all split up that way. But for what it's worth, I didn't want that to happen when I held a press conference when I announced the filing of the civil lawsuit and then showed a video animation that I had prepared. So I used one large television screen for the media to have their cameras point at, so I wouldn't be doing the same thing.
Anything else?
And why does he narrate it? That's like just putting thoughts in people that are watching it.
I think you answered your own question.
That's my thought.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. It was like, let's start the PR campaign by coming forward with all of the justifications, which I don't think are justified, which included, as you know, if you followed this, commenting in that narrative about why the canine wasn't released. And it was really a misstatement to say that it was against police policy to release a canine to try to detain the suspect.
They used the canine.
No, they did not.
No, the next day on another case they did.
You're absolutely correct, and that was something I pointed out previously. You've obviously followed this quite a bit. I appreciate that.
Yes.
The next day, it was the day after that press conference. It wasn't the day after the shooting. It was the day after the press conference when the statement was made, they don't use a canine if they believe that the suspect is armed. And it was the very next day that they had to confront a suspect they knew was armed, that had fired shots, and they knew was a convicted felon that was barricaded inside a building, and that person was detained by use of a canine. So, what was said on that narrative was really untrue.
Yeah, I thought he was just starting his PR trying to cover his butt.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I agree.
Your
Thank you.
opinion, ma'am. Thank you for watching and calling in. I really appreciate it. I do want to roll the body cam video again there, Carrie, if we could. Same video we ran in the monologue. And I want to have our attorney here, Stuart Chandler, go over this chapter and verse. And then, Carrie, I'll give you the motion as to when to get out, because I want to take it up to the bitter end, almost to the point where the shots are fired. So I'll let you know when to get out of this. We do have a phone call. I'll ask the caller to hang on. Hang on, caller. We're going to go through this videotape. Can you hang on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Stuart. What are we looking at here?
Well, what you're looking at here is Officer Chavez body cam. He was the one that had the pistol that was driving the vehicle that put on the lights to pull Dylan over. So at this juncture, it's after they had seen him making a left turn from Sunnyside onto eastbound Shields Avenue. And there's smoke that came out from the rear of his pickup truck that was, it may have been from the tires spinning. That's the suspicion anyway. Mm-hmm. The Jeep that just passed right there was one of Dylan's friends that had been with Dylan earlier that day. The two of them had been together, and they were actually going to go and get a dirt bike and go ride dirt bikes. And so at this point, they pulled up behind Dylan, had passed the Jeep. So the officer ran the plate. We're not hearing the audio from the body cam, but he called in the plate. The dispatcher reported back that it was registered to a Dylan Noble of Clovis. Certainly if there had been a criminal background, that would have come up. There wasn't. So there was nothing to suspect that there was anything wrong with him. At this point, we know the officer had been in the area generally, but about 2 miles away, mile and a half away.
Why didn't they try to just stop him? They were at a red light.
Well, they actually did put on the lights and siren just as they came across the intersection.
Okay.
So they lit him up here. As far as we can tell from timing and watching him go along here, we believe that his speed was within the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. He's going eastbound on Shields. Now, on the right, you can't really see it on the body cam, but all the signs there say no stopping at any time. So, you know, one of the criticisms is he should have pulled over right away. Well, if you pull over, now, of course, here he's pointing the pistol at Dylan, and I'm sure Dylan didn't see that, but the first safe and meaningful place to stop is that service station, and that's exactly what Dylan did. Yeah. It's about a half a mile, but the sign said not to stop previously, so he, you know, I don't see why there's any concern about why he didn't stop right away. So at this point, Dylan's been pulled over, and Officer Chavez gets out, and he's got his pistol drawn. There's a reserve officer you can see on the right side of the screen with the pistol drawn also. And at this point, they begin yelling commands to Dylan about showing his hands. And at various times, you can see one hand and then the other come out through the driver's side window. You don't hear Dylan saying anything at this point, but Officer Chavez gets closer to the vehicle. And still...
Is this Chavez pointing his gun there?
It is.
Okay.
That's right. And then...
Let this roll carry until Stuart says to get out of it.
That's fine. And I know you don't want to show the actual shooting, but at this point he'd gotten out. He's got his gun pointed. You can see also it's sort of blocked by his ear, and it's as though almost he's tilting his head over to block the body cam video. Officers know that they can kind of block it some if they tilt their head. And so part of what's going on is not seen by this particular body cam. And it's around this time that Officer Camacho has arrived and is going to come over on the right-hand side of the screen pretty soon. He was the one who pulled up afterwards. It's also important to know that almost immediately after Dylan pulled over and stopped, and at this point you can see him walking away.
Why is he not adhering to the commands of the officers?
I don't know
why.
I don't know the answer to your question. We can do a lot of speculation, but we know at this point he comes walking back towards him.
When do we get out of this now?
You can stop it right
Stop
there if
it
you like.
now, Kerry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay,
go ahead.
So, but all the while that Dylan had been stopped, what's not seen in that body cam video is to the left, there was the canine unit that was there. And that's, of course, as you know, it's very disturbing to me, the fact that there's a canine there. And why is the canine just left in the vehicle the entire time? If I don't think we have it queued up here, but
the canine was in a backup unit?
Yeah, it was right next door.
So they had backup units.
There was 3 units there by the time Dylan was shot.
And one of those backup units had the canine.
That's right.
And
was there the whole time.
Your question is what?
I don't know if so much it's a question, it's an accusation.
Why didn't they use the canine?
There's no excuse. Absolutely none. And the police haven't answered that. The one thing that we heard was when Chief Dyer gave the press conference and misstated department policy. Go ahead.
Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, what he said to the media was, we don't use a canine if the suspect is armed. Well, first of all, of course, Dylan wasn't armed. Secondly, that's not in their policy. Their written policy says just the opposite, that if they think that the lives of officers or others are in danger, it's appropriate to use the canine.
I wonder why they would say that.
I don't understand that at all.
Let's take this caller here. You've been very patient throughout this whole time. You're on with Stuart Chandler. Thank you.
Hi. So just a quick question for Mr. Chandler. Knowing that the remainder of the body cam is under criminal investigation, if they truly have nothing, why would you think they still won't release it?
I don't know. I mean, you could ask them that question. They refuse to answer it other than just this statement, it's under criminal investigation. I'll tell you what I think is the case, and that is that the body cam video continues to roll as they're on the scene, and what more have made interchange might have been with Dylan as he was there on the ground, I think is certainly important. And then they're also talking to folks that are in the area. You know, we know that there was many witnesses, and I suspect that things witnesses had to say and their identity is something that's important to us as we're investigating the case, and they don't want us to have that information. Not until they absolutely have to turn it over by a court order, which we'll get there.
Wow. So I know we got to go to break. Carrie just gave me the cue to go to break, but I got to ask you a series of questions first, and then we're going to come back and show the animation video. But I do want to ask you a series of questions.
Sure.
Because this other case that was settled with Jaime Reyes Jr., do you think this case will be settled? Or is that a question that just can't be answered at this time?
You know, that's really up to the city, I think. I think it should. I think that the city long ago should have taken responsibility and accountability and say...
Hang on, caller.
You know, I've said from day one, I would invite city leaders to step up and say this shouldn't have happened. So let's sit down with the family and the attorneys collectively and let's try to get this resolved. But I haven't heard word one from the city about that.
All right, let's take this call before we go to break. Caller, you're on the air with Stuart Chandler.
Yes, good morning. First of all, my condolences go to the families,
Thank you.
his parents. I think that's I can't even imagine what they're going through, especially with the Christmas and everything. I was just going to comment more or less is yes. After they did, he went down the first. Well, he went down. He was already wounded and hurt. To me, a person can't do much when they're wounded on the ground already. I mean, what else can they do? He must have been hurting if he was still breathing, And so, I have to wonder why 2 more times after that. They're officers. They could have just approached him slowly to make sure he wasn't pulling, or send the canines, But I think that he just perhaps he couldn't even really do much anymore. He was wounded, he was hurt, and probably scared and everything. And so that's just a very bad situation. And so my condolences go to the families again, and hope that it will come to justice then wherever it should lay. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for calling. She brought up a good point. I do have to go to break, but she said the officers could have approached him slowly with guns drawn. Possible?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And thank you, ma'am, for your call and your support. I appreciate it. Yeah. John, you're absolutely right. There was those last shots, is particularly just there's no justification.
Yeah. Let's take the shot at Dylan here, 19 years old, as we go to break. Dylan Noble, 19 years old, on June 25th, shot by Fresno police. Your phone calls are welcome. Stuart Chandler is here. And again, our condolences go out to the family, especially at this time of year during the holidays. Back after this from Charles Chuck McGill, our sponsor.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
Have you or a loved one recently been arrested for a serious crime?
Is your professional reputation at risk?
Aggressive representation from a qualified defense attorney can help you avoid conviction and keep your reputation untarnished.
Hi, I'm Charles McGill, and I'll fight for your rights. With extensive experience in successfully defending against a wide range of criminal offenses and high-profile cases, you can rest assured that you'll get the fair trial you deserve from McGill, Guzman, McGill. Call us at 559-255-3425 or visit us online at toplawyersfresno.com.
Back here on the show, connect with me on MeTV Fresno, talking with Stuart Chandler, the attorney representing the mother. And so here are some questions that I got. The Fresno police auditor, of course, Richard Rasmussen, came out, third quarter report, and said this about the Fresno Police Department. He said the auditor noted there is a real issue with bullet deflection, rounds fired through glass surfaces like windshields. We noticed in a Dylan Noble body cam video that the officer's gun was drawn. Was that Chavez?
That's correct.
Okay, that was Chavez. Dyer's response to that was that they placed a handgun on the steering wheel and was in the ready position. Officers are trained to fire from their vehicle if an immediate threat is posed to them, the chief wrote. Response?
I thought that was a pretty pathetic response on behalf of the city myself. There's no threat to the police as he's driving along within the speed limit, and that was a point in time when he was pulling over and he was going to be pulling over. There was absolutely no threat to the police officer.
Hang on, caller.
It's not as though, it'd be one thing if he's in the vehicle at a standstill and there's another vehicle stopped and shots are being fired and, you've got to take immediate action. But that's not even close. There's absolutely no justification, and to me that just reinforces what I've said about something's wrong if the culture and the training suggests and in any way defends that it was appropriate for that officer to have his pistol pointed through the front windshield at that time.
Hang on, caller. Got a lot to get to before I get to you. Just be patient. Also in the Rasmussen report, he also made recommendations concerning photographic evidence following all use of force incidents involving Fresno officer, urging that officers involved in such incidents be photographed as they are suspects. In response, Dyer said this: I do not agree with that. Officers should be photographed in every instance. I do not agree. Your response?
I disagree with what Chief Dyer had to say, and I think it's also interesting that they want to do so much probing into Dylan Noble and what was on his Facebook account or what was his background and his state of mind at the time, and yet there's nothing that we're hearing about looking into what about the officers and their state of mind and their background, and as you said, taking photographs at the time, video, whatever may be appropriate, because if there's anything that's relevant, it's looking at what was going on with them at the time.
Yeah. Caller, short on time. We got to roll with this quickly because we've only got about 15 minutes left. Go ahead. What's your question, please? Thanks for calling.
A couple of questions, John. First off, before the shooting, how many officers were actually on site? Not the units, but how many officers were on site? That's my first question. And my second question is, was the one officer the only one with a body cam? Did any of the other officers have body cams? And if so, why were those cameras and those recordings not viewed?
Those are great questions.
I can answer that. We know for sure that there was at least 4 officers on site. There was Chavez and the reserve officer with him. There was Camacho in the other vehicle, and there was the K-9 officer. Whether there was another person with the K-9 officer at this point, I don't know. It doesn't appear on any body cams. We also know that there was an off-duty sheriff's officer at the gas pumps. Now, I haven't seen that person on the body cam videos, but that's what the investigation information we know so far.
So how many body cam videos are out there that we haven't seen?
To our knowledge, though, there's only the 2, the ones that were on officers Camacho and Chavez. I don't believe that there was one on the reserve officer, and if there was one on the K-9 officer, I'm not aware of it at this time.
Well, you'll find out.
We'll find out.
You'll get all the evidence. All right. Caller, you're on the air with Stuart Chandler. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Gina Bird, and I'm calling from Los Angeles, California. I'm from Fresno, California. I know the Dylan Noble family, and my gosh, God help them. You know what? My honest opinion is I was born and raised in Fresno, California, and the police department has had a problem of not being forthcoming with the truth forever. So I just hope and pray that something's done. Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you, ma'am, for that call. I appreciate it. Going back to the Rasmussen report, in his report, the auditor made a reference to the ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court, Graham versus Connor, does not provide police with sufficient guidance on U.S. force. Fresno PD should adopt policies and training to hold themselves accountable to even a higher standard. Dyer's response, department policy is intended to provide guidelines for officers consistent with Graham versus Connor, U.S. Supreme Court decision.
Well, it's what the independent auditor had to comment on, I agree with. The United States Supreme Court in that case gave some general concepts about the use of force and it being proportional to the circumstances. I think that given the fact that we consistently have these problems, as with what happened with Dylan Noble, Mr. Reyes, and others, I agree that we've got to look at having more specific policies that are going to be in effect to keep these things from happening again, instead of something just too broad and generic, and then say, well, we think what we're doing is right, because it clearly is wrong.
Policies now are too broad and generic.
I believe so.
Yeah, more policies, but more training.
Both. That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. One more from the Rasmussen. Rasmussen called for Fresno PD to make de-escalation a formal policy. De-escalation is a police tactic of slowing down confrontations with upset or violent subjects. All right, the response from Jerry Dyer, here it is. De-escalation and the safety to officers is the foundation of our department.
Well, then the foundation's crumbling, because it sure didn't happen here. I mean, it ramped up from the moment that before he was pulled over, to have the pistol drawn, and then all the commands and the yelling and the cussing and using profanity. That's exactly the opposite of de-escalation. So,
quickly before we go to the animation video, I know we got to go to break. Can we just stretch this out? And I'll just say that our sponsor today is Charles Chuck McGill, a well-respected attorney here in the city of Fresno, defense attorney, been around for 25 years. Chuck, we appreciate your sponsorship today, but I do need the time to get through this. Initially, well, I think you tell me what the policy is for Fresno PD. They normally, in a police-involved shooting, don't release the officers' names. But in this case, how did the names of Raymond Camacho and Robert Chavez Chavez, who pumped that last shotgun round into Dylan Noble. How did those names come out?
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to agree with what you said about Chuck McGill. Love the guy. He's a great lawyer, so we really appreciate.
Yeah, I appreciate his sponsorship.
No,
Thank you.
We do, and he's just a wonderful gentleman and a fine lawyer. As far as how those names came out, it was because when the city police department sought a subpoena to go into Dylan's Facebook and social media information, they put together a declaration that was publicly filed with the court system to get that subpoena. And it was part of the information included in the declaration to get the search warrant that they identified the officers. So that's how it came out.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have known?
To this date, we wouldn't know, correct.
Okay, caller, you're on the air with Stuart Chandler. I appreciate your call. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I think these officers in Fresno need to have some more basic training on how to handle situations. To me, I think that the K-9 should have been turned loose first. That way you would have known if the gentleman had a pistol or not. Not knowing that he didn't have one, I don't see how, John, that they just went ahead and fired.
Yeah. I don't know either. I'm no expert. I've never been in law enforcement. I've never been an attorney. Hopefully, thank God I've never been in that situation where I've been pulled over and had a gun drawn on me. But I do want to roll this videotape, this animation. Viewers at home, I want you to pay attention to this because this is animation footage that you put together, right, of what should have happened, what police should have done instead of what they did. Right?
You're correct. It's one of several things that could or should have been done, and I didn't do this myself.
Okay, let's roll it, and then you'll talk over it.
Sure. You might want to bring it up and then pause it. If you could, just hold it right there. Is that possible?
Can we pause it just a second? And then continue. Okay, it's paused now.
Great. Thank you very much. So let me just give the background for it, and I know we're short on time.
It's okay.
But so what we did is I knew that there was a K-9 there. There was no dispute about it. And I also knew that the K-9 was available, and I was advised by the folks that I've been consulting with in police practices that it should have been used. So what I did is I retained the same professional animation company that does most of its work for police departments around the country, and in fact does animations for the Fresno Police Department. And Fresno PD used this same company to do animation in a trial that was earlier this year. I think it was in June of this year. So I thought, I'm going to the right people. And I had my police practices consultants, including a nationally renowned K-9 consultant, talk to the folks that do the animation to say, this is how it could have gone down. So what we did was take the body cam video and place the officers in the positions where they should have been closer to their vehicles when Dylan got out of his truck, with the K-9 officer over on the left. Now, we know in reality, they didn't use the K-9, but he could have, should have been there.
3 cars here, 3 police vehicles. Now, who are they? What are they here?
Sure. The one in the front is Officer Chavez that pulled Dylan over, and then his reserve officer that's on the other side of the vehicle. On the far side is Officer Camacho that had the shotgun, and he came up in the vehicle off to the right.
Which one has the K-9?
The K-9 would be the one on the left. Okay. We don't have the identity of that officer, but those are the locations of the vehicles when Dylan was stopped and before he ever got out of his truck. So with that in mind, let me just give one other preface. I know we're getting the clue real quickly. Right. So what we did is the officers, or the input that I got was, with the K-9 there, and we superimposed the actual time from body cam video of when Dylan walked away, and one of the officers said, let the dog go. You can hear that on their body cam video.
You can?
Yes, and it plays, you'll hear it, and you'll see the words superimposed on the screen. So what we did is said, let's just suppose that the dog was released when one of the officers said, let the dog go. And this is what would have happened. So go ahead and play it.
Okay, go ahead and roll it, Carrie. It's rolling now. So we'll see the animation continue here. All right.
So there's Dylan walking away from the truck. Yeah, if you can turn, I don't know if you can turn the volume up.
Can you turn the volume up? Yeah, turn it up, sound full here a little bit. Yeah. We saw the dog actually go after Dylan Noble. Whoops.
If it's
Yep. I think we got a dog with us. 3 Baker 11, 12. He's getting out of the car. Get down on the ground! Lay down! Get down on the ground! Fresno Police Department, get down on the ground! We don't have a dog?
Let the dog go.
Okay, so that was the animation footage with the sound.
Right.
And you could hear the officer in that footage
That's-
say, hey, let the dog go.
Let the dog go. So we created the animation to do exactly what that officer suggested. And what was interesting was that when we were looking at it and I was having consultants, review it with me, that was the input I got is, clearly the dog was available, should have been used to take Dylan down to the extent he was a threat. I mean, it's really questionable whether he was a threat at all. But those officers are claiming he was, that they fired shots and killed him.
I want to roll that videotape again, that animation with no sound, Carrie, and I want you to comment what we're looking at again. I want to see that again, because this could be the deal breaker for the police department in court, possibly. Hang on, caller. All right, so the officers pull up.
Yeah,
the
one
canine
says,
is there.
Yes. And so there's some conversation that says, I think we've got a dog, and they're yelling at Dylan, put your hands up, get down on the ground, words to that effect. And then as he's walking away, then one says, do we have a dog? And then as he gets further away, he said, let the dog go. So we had the officer let the dog go. It literally takes like 2 to 3 seconds for that animal to take him down to where he's no longer a threat. Then the officers come up with guns drawn for their safety until they get to him.
Freeze it right there, Carrie. Freeze it right there. Freeze it. Eric, leave it right there.
Okay.
I want the audience to know, you're looking at this video here. This is not what happened, as we all know. It's what should have happened, according to police procedure.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Canine policy is that you can and should use a dog if you're perceiving a threat. And one of the officers said, let the dog go. So there's no excuse.
Could this animation be the one piece of videotape animation that could win a case for you?
It might. That's up to a jury.
Very powerful stuff.
It's up to a jury.
Yeah, I know.
And that's just one of several things that could have been done that would have saved Dylan's life.
Yeah, caller quickly, because I think we have about a minute left. So can you make it about 10 seconds? Go ahead, caller.
John, that's the perfect way that it should have been done. It's just like that, and the gentleman's still alive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the call. Anything you'd like to add about the Dylan Noble case, or about the family, or about this young man that is no longer with us here?
I appreciate that opportunity. We just want to see things changed. We don't want to see this tragedy happen again. So I'm going to do everything I can on behalf of Dylan's mom to work with the city to put a stop to this.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it very much. Stuart Chandler, please come back again.
Be happy to. Thanks very much for having me on, John.
Okay, thank you. It's our pleasure, and our condolences go out to the family of Dylan Noble, certainly, and you're very close to the family, and condolences to you as well. Thank you. Very tough case. We're back tomorrow. We're going to try to lighten things up with Ronnie Paul, Flying Home with Ronnie Paul. Have a great day, everybody.
Have you or a loved one recently been arrested for a serious crime?
Is your professional reputation at risk?
Aggressive representation from a qualified defense attorney can help you avoid conviction and keep your reputation untarnished.
Hi, I'm Charles McGill, and I'll fight for your rights. With extensive experience in successfully defending against a wide range of criminal offenses and high-profile cases, you can rest assured that you'll get the fair trial you deserve from McGill, Guzman, McGill. Call us at 559-255-3425 or visit us online at toplawyersfresno.com.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign. MeTV reaches over 100,000 of your potential customers in the Fresno area every single week. Plus, you can rest assured that your commercial is running in the greatest family-friendly programs of all time. MeTV Fresno delivers a strong, loyal audience ready to buy, and your campaign will cost a fraction of what you're paying for your advertising.